Well, hello and welcome to Selah Podcast. My name is Jacob and I'm joined with who?
Raquel.
Very nice to have you here. And so during Selah, we're having a time of prayer and fasting. And this week, we're just taking a closer look at what it looks like to pursue God through that, and often seeing as a result, breakthrough in your circumstances or clarity about next steps. So first off, Raquel, if you could tell us a little bit about how you're connected to the Refuge.
Oh, well, I'm originally from Brazil. Like you see, my accent. We moved to here almost 23 years ago under prophetic word, and we moved first to Alabama and then North Carolina. And we almost hitting the 20 years at the Refuge. My husband and I, we are elders here at the church, and we love this house, and that's it. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So she's going to be sharing some today about what it looks like to have breakthrough in regards to hearing God's voice, which I know as a believer might be one of the most important things because you're trying to pursue after him, but you're desperately also trying to hear what it is he's trying to say to you. So,
right. It's a really hot topic around, Christians, like how I can hear the voice of God. And I'm telling you, it's not that complicated. It's to me is it starts with the little things. When you hear the voice of God in a small things. Like just one example, I have 3 boys, so I'm constantly grocery shop all the time. At least once 3 times a week, I'm at the grocery shop. So when you there, the small voice of God, when you about to take your grocery to the car and you do I return the car to the cart place or just leave here?
There.
Or so I was like, no, I'm gonna obey. Put the cart, on the right place. And so there's these small things. Or if I grab something from the deli and I decide not taking to the house, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave here. And then the small voice say, no, you're gonna put back at the same place that you pick the cheese or whatever, So these small things, when you hear this little voice and you start obeying, is God working for a big thing. So the first thing that for me to hear the voice of God is so peaceful in your mind. He brings so much peace, and it's Him. Because the voice of the enemy and your own voice, they are voices of accusation, voice of comparison, and it's not God.
Yeah.
So to me, first thing, He brings peace to you, to your mind, and just confirm that He's the one that is speaking with you. So every time when I hear something else, beside peace, beside joy, beside confirmation, is not from God, I rebuke at the same time. I was like, nope, this voice is not from God. And I choose to hear Him. It's a daily exercise, nice small things, and He gives you the big things to hear. So I love that John 10:27, they said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So it's not only hear the voice of God, but I think we need to obey. The follow-up is obeying His voice.
Yeah.
Because it's not just hear the voice of God for what? For your own thing, for your own, satisfy your own things, or you hear the voice of God and you follow up obeying what you're hearing. So I love that. So a couple weeks ago, we went to the mountains with my family. I have my brother and my sister came to visit, and we are like following the GPS, and in the middle of the mountains, the GPS just get disconnect, and we are in trouble because we don't know if we're gonna take a left or take a right, or we're gonna keep straight, or so. This at the same time, the Holy Spirit spoke with me. He said, "You got disconnect because you are far away from the tower. Like you need a connection. You need to find a place to find the connection." So at the time, I was like, yeah, but like, how are we going to find the connection? We are in the middle of the mountains. So we finally took a left and was right on the place. But in Hebrew, I think it's Hebrew 13:8 say that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So God, he doesn't move. He's the same. So when we stop hearing the voice of God is because we move away from him, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't move. He doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, forever. So I think most of the Christians I can't hear the voice of God. But you have to block all this distraction, and you have to draw near to him, right? I think it's James 4:8, they say, draw near to me, and I'll draw near to you. So the same thing, with the tower, like the cell phone tower, you have to get close so you can have connection.
Yeah.
So the same thing with hearing the voice of God, you have to draw near to him, and then you can hear his voice.
Yeah, I feel like the strong theme there is that probably most Christians are hearing his voice constantly.
Right.
But just don't know how to actually pick it out.
Right.
I think even I have my third kid now. My daughter, who's 6 months old, is pretty obsessed with my wife. And if she's sitting on the couch by me and pretty content, she's good to go. And as soon as she hears Vanessa's voice in the other room, she's upset because she's like, oh, I want her to pick me up. I need her right now.
Right.
And it's instantaneous. She just knows her voice, and she can't see her. I don't know how good her baby eyes are anyway, but she can't see her. And she's like, oh, yes, pick me up right now, because she knows that voice.
Yes.
And I think we can sometimes only know the voice of our pastor or our preacher or the person we like on YouTube, but not necessarily care to know the actual voice of God.
Yeah, right. Sometimes happens to me a lot. I think when I shut my mind down, like when I'm sleeping, we have dreams, but it's like in the beginning of I'm about to wake up and I still, zooming, and I can hear his voice so clear, pray for somebody or text somebody else today or tell them that they are special to me. They're about to have a hard day today, so pray for them. So it's funny how you recognize the voice, like your daughter recognized the voice of Vanessa, because we get so familiar with the voice of God, and we know it's him. And so many times I heard his voice, and I obey, I delivered a word, or I text, or I call somebody. And it's just confirmation. But it's like when you have a best friend, or like when your husband on the other side of the line say, hello, it's him. Mm-hmm. It's God when you recognize his voice. And it's not like some people needs it needs to be like a spiritual thing, highlightings and thunders and to God. No, He's simple. God is very simple, and on a daily, small things, he speaks, you drive and you slow down, and then a dog go through, in front of your car. Or you just, in the grocery store, and you, and he's go home, small things that you need to hear his voice and obey. And you get so familiar with his voice that when you hear the voice of the enemy, you red light, this is not the voice of God. and I'm rejected right now. So when I pray, we pray at the altar with people a lot of times. It's like I'm in a mood, I can't hear God's voice. And so the first thing I ask is how you connected with Him, like right now, how you are close to Him. You like, because if you're far away, you're gonna disconnect. We have today with social media and all the TV shows, we have so many distractions, but we choose, through His word, through worship, get near to Him.
Yeah.
And it basically is this. I don't think it's like a major thing, like in anybody.
Yeah.
Can hear His voice.
And I think that's a lot of what fasting is about, is removing something to clear up that space to be able to hear His voice. Now, I got to know, I'd be interested to know, do you tend to pray in English or Portuguese? So do you hear His voice more in one than the other?
Yes. So when we move here, so because all the emotions, when I cry, when I'm sad, of course comes in Portuguese, but we, so it's been almost like 23 years. So now I can start crying in English, and praying in English, and even like dreaming in English. So it's very interesting. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend. So I work with 2 Mexican ladies. So this morning I was like, oh God, I need a break. I need to go home early because my Portuguese, and then I work with a bunch of Americans, and there's 2 girls, this from Mexico. They come early, and they start speaking with me in Spanish. So I was like, okay, it's too much. Like, I need a break. Like, I need a mental break. But I think that when you pray with your emotions, and comes in Portuguese first. But I'm learning. And I think it's coming like very easy, and I don't have to force. It's in English sometimes, and sometimes it's both. It's funny. That's because awesome. I can say
it's like how I'm sure you speak to your own kids in both.
Right. But it's very special because I think when it's pure and true, whatever. Coming.
Yeah. So as a last thought for, what was the last kind of challenge you would give someone who would be coming to you at the altar and just saying, I don't feel like I can hear His voice? What would you leave them with? An action step. Yeah.
The first step, I would say to you, just be honest with the Lord, like, Lord, I want to hear your voice. Show me, teach me. And He will. He's very simple, and He'll give you like tools. He'll give you, and you even can ask, somebody to help you on this task. But the first thing I'll say is obey His voice. Even if you think, no, this is things from my head. This is things that I'm imagining. I'll say, no, I'm going to start obeying the little things. And because I say the prayer, prayer and hear the voice of God, they are very connected. Because it's kind of like a communication. You pray, you talk to God, and you hear His voice talking to you back. So with Selah, with fasting, you kind of open this connection between you and God. You put aside all the distraction, and don't need to be like, like a big thing, but a small voice, obey, and be conscious, like, okay, I'm learning, and that's all right if I get it wrong. And so many times I got wrong.
Yeah,
I got wrong. But it's a exercise, a daily exercise, and you try to shut down everything around you when you try to listen to God. Like, okay, this week I'm gonna be off of social media because I wanna get close to Him, and He will honor your your heart and you pursuing to hear His voice.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, as you're fasting this week, I just encourage you definitely consider what it is you could take off of what you're doing or what you're engaging in, so that you really could open up that space to be able to hear the Lord's voice more. And we just want to encourage you to definitely tune in tomorrow for our next episode of Selah Podcast.